Another week begins, Meghan, which means another episode drop. This is Got Next with Meghan and Zora, your one-stop shop for all things women's basketball. Off the top, what's on your mind?
What's on my mind is, for the first time really this season, a lot of the top teams are going to start getting into a little bit of a gauntlet in terms of competition. A lot of Power 4, Power 5 opponents coming down the jetway. I'm excited. You're getting ready to make a long trip out west. We're going to get into all of that. And look, the season's off to a good start. Let's keep it rolling.
Yeah, maybe in the next few weeks, your power rankings will change with all these
I know.
top 10
I'm getting
matchups.
bored.
It takes a minute to warm up, right? The matchups have to warm up. That's what we want. But this episode, we're going to start not in college basketball, but in the W, because the WNBA, I love it. She's on
Wear my sweatshirt in honor. Player Society shout out. Great gear.
The WNBA lottery took place, so we now know the order, specifically the top 4 spots. And that number 1 spot, everybody wanted to know where it was going to go because, of course, names like Paige Bueckers will be in the draft. Kiki Iriafen will be in the draft. And the Dallas Wings get the top spot. What was your happy for them? I'm not going to lie, and I want your take on it. We're all thinking, okay, Paige is going to go number 1. So now you're going to have Arike and Paige. I think it might be good for Arike to play off the ball.
It'd be really good to see her play off the ball, especially with someone like Paige, who's so smart and so deliberate with her playmaking ability. That could be a lot of fun to see, a little 1-2 punch. Anytime you have Arike and Ogunbowale on your team, like it's, you got an automatic bucket pretty much. So having another threat as well, like Paige, who can score, might even take some pressure off of Arike and give her a little more room to maneuver. So I know I love all of the instant reactions on Twitter. I mean, we got to love X, Twitter, whatever y'all want to call it nowadays. And now you have Dallas at the number 1 pick. Los Angeles gets the number 2, Chicago 3, Washington 4. It's going to be a fascinating draft when the time does come. And if there's one thing we've learned, what's fascinating about the last couple of years in the WNBA is that rookies are now making an immediate impact on their teams. A couple of years ago, it wasn't necessarily the case. It was definitely a veterans league, but especially last season, I mean, up until Angel Reese really got hurt, it was a race to the finish for who Rookie of the Year would be between Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, and Rakia Jackson also making an impact. Leah Edwards for Washington making an impact. So many different rookies are coming in better prepared to play in the league. It's just so much fun right now to be a part of women's hoops.
Yeah, I mean, if we're keeping it in Dallas, JC Sheldon, Dallas, WNBA player, she was picked 5th, of course, went to Ohio State. She started for most of her rookie season. So that's a testament, to the impact the rookies are having right away. Let's put the spotlight. Oh, okay. I was going to say, let's put the spotlight on LA.
Honestly, the transition still works, though. The transition still works.
Yeah, no, I said shout out to Natalie for the impeccable timing there. Of course, Kurt Miller used to be the head coach in LA, but now he's in Dallas. So how do you like them?
Which, by the way, great movie. Shout out to that movie. I do want to add another, this is why the WNBA is going to be so much fun moving forward is, okay, now we know the lottery picks. It's, November. December 6th, we get the expansion draft, Zora, and Golden State Valkyries are going to have the opportunity to pick from the current pool of WNBA players. Now, each WNBA team can protect up to 6 players. It's the first expansion draft since 2008. So this is going to be a lot of fun just as we get league expansion, team expansion. I can't help but think roster expansion is going to be the next conversation that the league has. It's a good time right now.
That's going to get spicy. I mean, my husband and I have been going back and forth with each team on which 6 players do you protect?
Right.
You think of a team like, okay, the New York Liberty, right? Are you going to protect a Courtney Vandersloot? Are you going to protect Leonie Febish because of the impact that she had late in the season? Do you have to think okay, you need development still. You're going to protect a rookie. You go out to Vegas, right? Kate Martin, where does she fall in that? I just have, it's going to be fun as a fan just to see what teams decide to do and then where the Valkyries, what they want to do as well.
And then by December 6th, are we going to have all the head coaching spots filled? Because there's still so many vacancies open. It's been crazy. Half the league had a head coaching vacancy this offseason, and only a couple have been filled. So still a lot to figure out in between now and then.
Yeah, I think we're still waiting on a Connecticut fill.
Washington,
Atlanta. Has Atlanta announced?
Atlanta got filled.
Okay.
Yeah, Florida Gulf Coast coach.
Yes. So, Connecticut, and what did you just say?
Dallas? Did Dallas get filled?
Yes, because yes, it was yes. I thought Dallas got filled.
There's so much, as you know, folks at home, our brains are going back and forth between multiple leagues. Zora's doing football
And I'm like,
also
I'm
as
still
well.
like in college football. Like,
So like, you know, if you're
I
like,
feel
God, I don't
Dallas
know.
hold on, this is gonna bug me. Maybe Dallas. No, did it not?
Dallas got Kurt Miller as their GM, but I don't think they filled their head spot.
Okay, no, maybe they didn't fill. Yeah, because I'm thinking of the Florida Gulf Coast, who's Atlanta. Okay, it's all
No, Connecticut,
together.
like you said.
Yeah,
Chicago did fill.
Chicago fill. I like that high. I like Tyler Marsh.
Yeah, that's a great high. Absolutely.
Yeah, and of course the Valkyries got Natalie from the Aces. So yeah, no, a lot going on. Exciting times in the W. Exciting times with NBC as well.
Yes,
because we've got a huge matchup on our network. Both Meghan and I will be working it in various capacities. Top 10 matchup. You've got, as it stands today, number 3 USC hosting number 6 Notre Dame, 4 p.m. Eastern on NBC.
First off, this is arguably the best matchup we're going to get in November. Both Notre Dame and USC can score. They can turn you over. The pace is going to be amazing. We talked to Olivia Miles, Hannah Hidalgo, and they are obviously ready to rock, but two of the most exciting players in the country, including JuJu Watkins, Kiki Iriafen, like some of the big names that you're going to see in the W in a couple of years, like they're all getting ready to compete. It's going to be a blast. You're going to be on the call at the game with LaChina Robinson and Isis Young. I'm going to be in studio back here at NBC, so it's going to be fun getting the toss from you in LA, and then we'll toss it back to you for the second half. What are you most excited about? You're the one who's like really diving into the prep of this game. You tell us, what are you looking forward to?
I think it's the unknown. I mean, I really don't know how the matchup is going to go. We know that there's an opportunity for a lot of points to be scored, so it'll be spectacular offense. But it's like, you know, arguably definitely the first test for Notre Dame. USC obviously started the season against Ole Miss, and that was a back and forth battle. But you know, we talk about there being 3 seasons in college basketball. You've got non-conference, conference, and postseason. And so, you know, this is the first time that, you know, top 10 teams are going at it for these 2 squads. And it's like, where are you really at? I think that's the biggest thing. It helps you find out where you're at in this point. I don't think it's a make or break for the season, regardless of what happens for either team. They're still going to be ranked. They're still, you know what I'm saying? But it's just a barometer test of how are things going at this moment.
I love games that feel like NCAA tournament games in November. We had that maybe like once or twice this week. I thought NC State, South Carolina kind of felt like that NCAA tournament time feel to things. There have been a couple others, but look, when you look at Notre Dame specifically, let's start there. You have 6 different players that are averaging double figures, which is pretty impressive considering the fact that Maddie Westbeld still hasn't played yet. Liza Carlin has been hurt, and those are 2 potential starters in the front court. And if not, incredible depth that Niele Ivey has to bring in off the bench. And then they're scoring at such an incredible rate right now, more than 99 points a game. It's 3rd in the nation. So like you have to think that fast pace is going to help fuel them against a USC team that also likes to play fast. Defensively, they've been a gauntlet to play against. So I'm really looking forward to see how Notre Dame can adjust to the pace that they're going to go against, because somebody finally who matches their pace. And then also USC is really long. So like for me, like having to deal with the length, think about it. Like Kennedy Smith, 6'1", JuJu Watkins, 6'2", Kiki Iriafen, 6'3". Like the guards on Notre Dame, like Hannah Hidalgo's 5'7", Olivia Miles, 5'11".
Yeah.
So that's going to definitely be something to keep an eye on. But what also I love, on a side note, you caught up with Niele Ivey about this game earlier, and here's what she had to say.
Every interview that I see your players do, they talk about how much you care about them and how much you lift them up. Year 5 leading this program, what have you found is your style?
Passion, for sure. I try to coach with my heart, honestly, and I feel like I love that it resonates with them. Because I've walked in their shoes. I know how hard this is. I know how challenging it is, and the expectations being so high. So I try to coach that way with energy and passion.
So much talk, of course, about your two dynamic guards. I'm talking about Olivia Miles, Hannah Hidalgo. You said spectacular. You said electric. Like, what are some of the things we can envision we're going to see both of them on the court together?
Yeah, just a lot of excitement. Like, they bring a lot of energy because both of them are so dynamic, as everyone knows. But it's just really fun to see them together with that excitement. And they play with a lot of fire, both of them. And different type of fire, but they both play with a lot of fire. So I would say exciting. It's going to look exciting. 1-2
punch. And I loved you were just talking to local media about how you've been watching different leagues. You're talking WNBA with Jewel and Skylar, but even the NBA. I loved you're talking Luke and Kyrie to see different mixtures there and how it could be a different person bringing the ball up every time. Our podcast is called Got Next. Who's got next for the Irish right now? Who should we be talking about?
Ooh, I have a lot of great pieces. I'm gonna say Sony because I feel I feel like everyone's kind of figuring out this. Everyone's talking about Olivia and Hannah, which as they should, but I think Sony kind of goes under the radar too. She's my quiet assassin. She's somebody that she looks incredible, the best that she's looked, throughout her career. So I think that's somebody who's got next.
Now to the ACC. What's it like playing in this conference night in and night out? How does it prepare you for the NCAA tournament?
It is insane. Every night is a battle. Every night you're tournament tested with somebody that is, either played in the tournament or done extremely well. Obviously, NC State going to the Final Four. You never can take a night off, so there's a ton of parity in our league. They're stronger, faster this year with the additions of a lot of different new players and incoming freshmen. So I feel like this league just gets better and stronger every year.
Okay, we got this big matchup on NBC. Notre Dame, USC.
Yes.
What kind of value does it have for you to play an opponent like that in your non-conference schedule?
Yeah, I think it's great. I think it's what the women's college basketball community wants to see. We have high-profile players playing against each other. We have not played USC in a very, very long time. I'm really good friends with Lindsay Gottlieb from USC, and we thought, what way to grow the game by putting this matchup together, something that college hasn't seen. So that was the mindset. Again, just seeing great teams battle each other early, kind of seeing where we're at. So that's why.
We appreciate Niele Ivey for giving us the State of the Union from South Bend, Indiana, aka my second home. Although USC and LA will be my second home come January.
I know you're going to be. Look, the people need to know Delta. First off, is Zora's second personality in the best way possible, and she is Diamond Medallion. Which, if I could only tell you how jealous I am of the Diamond Medallion status that you now hold as traveler.
I'm so embarrassed with the fact that my whole year is just plotting how I could get to Diamond Medallion. Next is 360. That's for the elite.
And that's when they provide a between your gates. I feel like when you get to that level.
Heard of that. I've heard that's LaChina Robinson status. So one day we'll get there.
What's it like? Just you gotta let us know next time you get back how it feels.
You've got status on multiple airlines, so
yeah. But you make my platinum status on Delta feel like it's such an amateur status.
I'm excited to cover USC. Multiple times this season. It'll be good to see him in person too and see the atmosphere out there that JuJu has started to accumulate. Obviously, we covered Caitlin Clark so much last season and the atmosphere in Iowa. And I really, really hope that the LA community rallies around its hometown player like Iowa did, because her stardom deserves that. Her skill set deserves that. And shout out to Lindsay Gottlieb for all the talent that is around you. Yes, we talk so much about JuJu, but Kiki Iriafen is going to be, if not number 2, a top 3 to 4 pick in the WNBA draft. You got a freshman in Kennedy Smith that's starting. You got post player in Rhea Marshall that's been a beast down low for years. You bring in a transfer, Talia Von Olafen from Oregon State. And then these freshmen, I know you really like the freshmen, and we were very impressed with them in their first game out. Kaylee Heckel, Avery Howe. I'm just going down the entire roster at this point.
Yeah,
but that's something that JuJu Watkins has talked about, is the depth of USC, which is, if we're thinking of one friction point in this matchup, USC has a lot of depth, whereas Notre Dame is top heavy, one with injuries, and that's just kind of how Niele Ivey plays too.
And look, Notre Dame at the end of the day is going to have to take care of the ball. They've been slightly turnover prone early on to start the season, and USC is a team that turns you over at a high rate. To get a little nerdy on you, Zora, USC is forcing more than 28 turnovers a game and scoring 35 points off those turnovers, and they're playing at home. So those are big factors that Notre Dame's going to have to obviously keep in mind as they go forward. However, when teams can defend, you can never like count that out at all. And I think the way that Notre Dame defends, especially their guards on the perimeter, is so difficult. It's something that USC hasn't really faced yet this season. I mean, Hannah Hidalgo over under 4 steals, just getting into
She
the
led
ball
the nation
handler.
in the category a season ago. You know what I mean? It's like
Right.
you talk about the turnovers that USC forces, but Hannah Hidalgo herself
I mean,
is,
she's a
you know,
stud. So
yeah.
like it's good. I'm really excited to see this game. It's anyone's game. Like it's one of those things where like you go in, and I know people love like talking about betting the over the under. I'm not a betting person. I know nothing about it. And I would just say maybe just don't bet because like you're not
this
gonna win.
one, you just gotta watch.
You just gotta
be
watch.
a fan and watch. And if the matchup itself is not enough of a treat, JuJu Watkins has a new documentary that's coming out exclusively on NBC and Peacock. It takes us behind the scenes, not just of her, but her family. Of course, she's the hometown hero from Watts, and it is titled On the Rise. So there'll be 6 different episodes, but the first one is debuting this Saturday. I just think it's like the best women's basketball day on NBC.
Yeah. And she's producing it as well, Zora. Like, can you imagine? She's not even 20 years old yet, and she's like producing her own docuseries and starring in it. You and I talk about this all the time. Like you said, we covered Caitlin Clark so closely last season. JuJu Watkins, similar world and caliber in terms of the amount of eyeballs on her. And she has handled this so well. And I don't know how she does it. She's so grounded. She's so humble. We've had the opportunity to talk to her. And I was wildly impressed with the maturity and how she carries herself and how talented she is with all the eyes in the world on her. I feel like I'd be crying in a corner at that age if I had that much pressure. So I'm excited to see this docuseries. I love that it also includes like a ton of guest appearances. Candace Parker's in it. My personal favorite, Tina Thompson, is apparently going to be in it, who's now a scout for the Portland Trailblazers. But overall, just so excited to see a behind-the-scenes look at how these superstars are handling their business at such young ages.
Well, and I love that women's basketball players now get the opportunity and the platform to share their stories beyond the court. You think back to last season, Caitlin Clark and Kiki Rice got the opportunity to do it with the documentary. Angel Reese and Flau'jae have done it at LSU talking about NIL. So it'll just be great to see the behind the scenes of JuJu Watkins, because so many times we see the mountaintop and we see all the success, but we don't see the work behind it. So I think
there's a lot of work.
Yeah,
a lot of work
especially for young people to watch that aspire to be in those positions in the future. It's good to know what it takes to get there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well said.
Thank you. Only sometimes. Power rankings time, Meghan. We talked about the season heating up, but it hasn't heated up to the point yet we've had to make any changes in the top 5.
No, it hasn't. So look, power rankings remain the same. But here's where it gets fun. It's going to get a little spicy. I like that term you used earlier today. I'm going to steal it from you. And I'm a hot sauce girl, so everything's got to be spicy.
In her bag.
Oh, absolutely. Beyonce has a line about that. Hot sauce in my bag. Swag. South Carolina is still my number 1 team in the power rankings. Their next 6 games are against Power 4 opponents. So that's going to be fun to see them kind of get tested. Look, early on, especially with new teams, even though South Carolina didn't really add much necessarily, and they didn't lose much, they still have players that are in new roles. So it just takes a little bit of time to get used to playing together. So I have no issue. Like they played some, teams that aren't necessarily notable early on that they've won big over. That allows your team to get a little chemistry on the floor together. Now you're prepared to go into a gauntlet where you're playing Power 4 opponents and trying to compete and build that resume before SEC play starts. UConn, number 2, they beat UNC last week. Only 11 turnovers, by the way, against the Tar Heels, who are a team that was turning people over at a really high rate. So I love how Sarah Strong is playing. Get this stat line. North Carolina girl, Zora, just like you're a North Carolina girl currently. 14 points, 13 rebounds, 6 assists, 5 blocks. She's a freshman. How fun is Paige Bueckers to watch? You see that shot she made to end the quarter and skip to the loo, my darling?
It was like she knew, right? But that's the work. I mean, everybody saw the world tour, but they didn't see the work tour.
That's exactly what she said. Although, on a side note, I do love how she said the best part of her world tour was meeting the cast of Scandal and Grey's Anatomy. I was like, same, Shonda Rhimes for life over here. Number 3, USC. They've blown everybody out since that Ole Miss game, as they should. And to me, if you're handling your business, you're supposed to be the 3rd best team in the country. You deserve to stay in the top 3. Texas won by 30 against DePaul. And look, DePaul is down this year, but still a road win to win by 30. You're taking care of business. Notre Dame continues blowing everybody out, taking care of business. I will say, Notre Dame's defense has blown my mind. UCLA really could be number 5 as well
I
because
was
they
going to throw
also
that in there. In
handle
the AP
business.
polls, they're 5.
Right. And it's more so, Zora, to be completely honest, I've seen Notre Dame in person and they just to me, passed my in-person test, and I haven't seen UCLA in person. So it's just the bias you see of getting to see it in person. So if you had to tell me I need to make UCLA 5, I'd be like, absolutely. There's no qualms there by any means.
Well, whichever one of us sees UCLA in person first, then we can give our take. Because
Yes.
we'll have both seen Notre Dame in person. Let's give some love to Texas. What do you like about their style of play and what they've been able to do if people have not been able to see them yet?
Well, first off, the one thing you have to understand about Vic Schaefer teams is he is a defensive guy. So somebody who comes in, preaches that side of the ball. I love seeing Rory Harmon back playing again. I love seeing Madison Booker back playing. They're balanced. They play fast. And they can get stops, which is really big. And look, as you go into a conference like the SEC, which is one of, if not the best conference in college basketball, you got to be able to do both. So I'm excited to see how they continue to progress this season. But so far, everything's business as usual for the Longhorns, I'd say.
No, I agree with all your power rankings right now. We'll see how they continue to move forward as the season rolls on. It wouldn't be Got Next if we didn't do a Who's Got Next segment. Ta-ting. We need I
don't know. I feel like your ta-ting can be our new sound for it.
Yeah.
This is very convincing.
Our Got Next is a moment to give flowers, and it's actually Who's Got Now. Because, yeah, there's a lot of attention on Harvard's Harmoni Turner, but she's been doing this for years. She's a senior. So Got Next takes us to the Ivy Leagues.
41 points against Boston College the other day.
38 before that.
I mean, 38 the next game or before that, whatever that might be.
Yeah, in a week. This is just her stats in 1 week.
First off, Harmoni Turner can score anywhere on the floor. Anywhere on the floor, she's a threat. I love her on the left side especially. She's shifty, she's crafty, she can finish, balanced, shoulder squared, all that jazz. And that's just hard to guard in general. But I don't think people realize, Zora, how good the Ivy League is in general, talent-wise. Caitlin Chen from Princeton last season is now starting on UConn and playing great. Kyla Jones from Brown, who is a third leading scorer in the Ivy League, is starting at Northwestern and playing great right now. So much talent in that league, and it goes under the radar because, we don't see them on TV as much. We don't talk about them as much. But not only are they smarter than all of us, but they're also dropping 40 plus in games. And so we need to give a little more love, a little more respect for the Ivy League. Because I got to tell you right now, these players are coming in some 5th-year opportunities, and they're dominating their current leagues and teams.
No, I love that take. And Harmoni is averaging 25 points per game on the season. We mentioned that she's a senior. She's averaged double figures her entire career, so she's not new to this. And what you got to love about the Ivies is she's playing the best basketball of her career, and she goes to TikTok and says, but I'm at Harvard, and I still have to worry about tests and exams, right?
I got to go to class.
Yeah, professors don't care what you did on the court.
That Kurt Miller tweet about how do you like them apples, keep in mind, folks, that's on Harvard's campus in the movie that was shot. So how you like them apples, you got to go to class.
Yeah, it applies to this situation too. But we just wanted to bow down to her because what she's been able to do on the court and in the classroom. And yeah, you never know if she takes her 5th-year opportunity or if we could see her in that draft lineup. And that's why yeah, we're talking about with the WNBA draft and the potentials, but you have to wait and see how the season plays out. There could be some sleepers that we have not touched on enough that could emerge as picks in the WNBA draft, which I think is great. It should happen.
That's what makes basketball so good right now. The league, when I say league, all of college basketball, 300 plus teams, it's as good as it's ever been. The coaching is as good as it's ever been. You're seeing players now come in more college ready at an early level. We've talked about this on the pod. Players are getting more opportunities in high school to build their bodies and be ready for the next level. We've seen it in the WNBA. Rookies are now coming in playing right away because they're ready. Overall, this is a really good time to be in women's basketball because of how much talent is around. You got to have a little bit of game if you're going to survive out here.
A lot of game.
A little game, a lot of game.
A lot of game. No, this was a fun episode,
It was
Meghan.
fun.
We
Hey,
touched on
safe
a lot.
travels to LA. What are you going to do on the
Thank you.
plane?
Well, nowadays I'm sleeping probably, but probably some prep. I'm always prepping, always looking at things, always talking to myself probably. And my husband's joining me on the trip too. So
Shout out,
that'll be good.
Kevin.
Shout out to Kevin. And yeah, and then you'll be in studio
I will.
breaking everything down, halftime, keeping us all together and see what we
Keeping you
should
together.
look forward to in the second half. So hopefully it lives up to all the hype that we're putting on it right now.
I know it will. I feel like it's totally going to live up to the hype. Make no doubts about it, folks. Saturday, clear all your plans. Watch NBC. Let's go.
See you next week. Got next.